Doug today is going to be talking to us. Let's see, where is his header? Hedge fund healer, here we are. Performance optimizer. He's going to be speaking about conscious living, creating passion and purpose in your life. And he's using the energetic use of words, emotional intelligence, and how to ground your way into consciousness. He today is going to be in room number 48. You can follow him later for, well, afterwards, he's going to go directly into the playroom for his own healing experience and prayer and chakra balancing. After that, you can find him in room number 48. So Doug is known as a hedge fund head turning into a healer. He is a life performance and executive coach, known also as a business consultant, radio presenter, and an international speaker. He has presented on stage alongside half the people from The Secret, such as Dr. John Demartini, which is my favorite, Dr. John Canfield, Lisa Nichols, and other TV celebrities, film stars, ex-prime ministers, and sporting athletes, I believe he helped too. You help people connect with the best version of themselves and help them to align to their true purpose in life. He is known for growing asset management business from 50 million in sales to 1.75 billion in sales. Whoa, he has over 140,000 live listeners on his show, his national radio show called Inspirational People, Inspirational Stories in Dublin. I was on the radio the other day. And following a near-death experience, which changed his life completely, he learned how to become a healer, and he became a master teacher of 5 modalities of healing, and he created his own healing modality experience, and he helps remove blockages. He uses intuition to help heal sports stars, CEOs, and many more, and maybe even you today. So welcome to the stage today, Doug. I'm looking forward to hearing you speak. And I met him on Clubhouse, and look where you are now. So welcome.
Great, thank you very much. And I see some amazing people in the audience. So a big shout out to Trey and Sabrina and many others as well. So I just want to say it's an absolute pleasure to be here chatting with all you inspirational people. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share some energy with you as well. So the first question I always like to ask people is, I'm sure a lot of you in the past have had certain jobs that you didn't really enjoy. And I'm sure quite often you woke up in the morning and, you know, that alarm goes off and you slap the snooze button again and again and again. And eventually you drag yourself to the side of the bed and you go, oh, box. Why do I do this? Why do I go to work every week? And you drag yourself out of bed, you drag yourself into the office and you look at the screen all day wondering what on earth you're doing there. And yet, I'm sure you've had that same experience, and put a yes in if you have in the tick box, in the chat box, that you're going on holiday and you might have been packing till 3 a.m. in the morning. You've only had like 3 hours sleep, and yet you're able to spring out of bed, spring into a taxi, spring into an airplane, and spring into the pool at the other end with loads of energy. Why is that? Because you're aligned to something that you love, something that you really enjoy, something that you really kind of have a real sense of purpose about. And that's what the most important thing to do in life is, to find what your purpose is. And one of the ways I always tell people to find your purpose is write down 5 things you love doing, 5 things you're good at doing, and 5 things you can add value to people in some way or form. Anyone done that? Put a yes in the box if you have, no if you haven't, so I can just get an idea of who's actually done this. Let's have a see. Anyone anyone done that before? It doesn't look like anybody has, according to the chat box. Oh, Adam has. Good man. Adam might have heard me on Clubhouse, so I recognize that. And Trey as well, and Sabrina as well. So look, a load of people have it. It's a really good thing because it aligns you to something you truly love doing. And if you're doing something you truly love doing, you never work a day because you're doing something that you love doing, let's face it. The other thing I always say to people is, I've spoken on stages, as I said, with many wonderful people. And if I was to give you a stage at the age of 70 as one of those senior citizens, what would the topic you could talk about so passionately that you can add value to people? And then work your way back and re-engineer yourself to where you are today and decide what you need to do to make yourself worthy enough to be able to do that, and then go out and do it. And you'll be aligned to what you should be doing as well. But how do we make that happen? How do we make a perfect life? How do we make a perfect relationship? How do we make you have the most amount of energy? And on my radio show, I love to use the acronym of MAKE. And I love playing on words because I truly believe that words have energy and we can utilize those to create the life we want. So I use the MAKE acronym. Firstly, M is for mindset, in terms of motivating yourself, the people around you, and also if it's a business, clients to work with you as well. A is for actions and activities, understanding where you are and where you're looking to go to. K is knowledge, but also knowing, having a knowing faith in yourself. And E is for energy, in terms of optimizing your energy to optimize your life. And going back to mindset, I think mindset's very important because let's face it, we are a product of our parents, our preachers, our teachers, and past relationships and experiences. And that means that we all come from different perspectives in life. And that could mean that you could see a color as yellow, I could see it as orange. It doesn't necessarily mean that either of us are right or either of us are wrong. It's just different perspectives of the same thing. And if we could all understand that, appreciate that, and respect that without trying to push our opinions on other people, international relationships, love relationships, business relationships, and even religious relationships would be so much better. So really try and ask the right questions to understand without making assumptions so that you can create a win-win scenario in every single interaction that you have in life. Because let's face it, the hardships in life, sometimes they come from ailments, they come from past relationship breakdowns, but also can come from confrontation. But I truly believe that if you've gone through a lot of hardships in life, you should pat yourself on the back. Because having had my near-death experience where I died and I was encapsulating this amazing feeling of love, energy, and connection, nothing like I'd ever felt before, I truly know that we come back to this planet again and again and again to learn, to grow, to evolve, to become a better version of ourselves. And see if we can get enlightened up to that soul-like self that we truly are as our higher self in this game of life. So if you are having a really hard time in this life, if you have gone through some really difficult times, think of it and reframe it in a way of saying to yourself, you know what? I must have gone through all the different levels in life to get up to this level, that I'm playing this life at an ultimate level to test myself to that ultimate, to see if I can get through that and utilize what I've learned to help people in the best possible way. Because you are obliged as a human being to come here and help raise frequency, vibration, and consciousness throughout the world. Let's face it, when you're 94 years of age, you're not going to look back at your life and say, oh, wow, how much money I made or how much wealth I accumulated. You're going to look back at the legacy you left in terms of legacy of love, a legacy of positivity on this planet. And that comes down to how many hearts you touch. And that can be down to the simplest things, as a kiss you gave, a hug you held, and a kind word that you passed on. And really that starts with yourself in terms of what we can do in terms of raising our own consciousness in a grounded fashion is to work on our own self-love and emotional intelligence as well. Self-love, because let's face it, hurt people in general. So if you come from a place of just pure love, the only thing you're going to ever give out is love as well. And in terms of emotional intelligence, which is obviously self-awareness, self-regulation, compassion, empathy, social skills, and motivating yourself, which I just spoke about a minute, that means that at every interaction in life, including the ones with this own self in here, will be win-win every single time. So where do we start? Let's face it, we are, as I said, a product of our parents, our preachers, our teachers, and past relationships and experiences. So that means we sometimes have a lot of shit which we're dragging around with us. How can we start to get away, get rid of that? And one of the best ways that I always get people to do, and it's an exercise that I do with people all the time, is to start with awareness. And the best thing to do is to get a pen and paper and write down, you could do this now if you want write down your self-aware flaws, your self-aware parental programs that you know that are playing that don't serve you in some way or form. So I'll give you my examples that I had in the past. 1, egotistical at times. 1, 2, not actively listening enough. 3, not feeling worthy of love at times. You know yours as well, so write them down in a state of awareness, self-awareness. Now, the problem is, some of us, including myself, I have to say, can't see past our own nose. And sometimes there are certain things in us that we don't see in ourselves. And that's why it's really good to have a coach. I mean, let's face it, every single top sports star in the world has a coach. That's why I coach these top CEOs all the time. It's not that I'm any better than you. It just means that I can maybe mastermind with you to see something in you that you might not see in yourself. I mean, have a look at my LinkedIn. You can see all the LinkedIn recommendations there and testimonies from amazing people. New York Times bestsellers, top speakers and stuff like that I've actually worked with and coached myself based on my own experiences and based on where I have been in the past. Actually, I'm quite an unusual healer, because as well as being a healer, I help people in terms of other healers form a presentation and a talk so they can use that to make more business themselves. And, I basically sold on stage to fund managers before in the past. And now I do it on stage in terms of inspiration as well. So I can help you in terms of doing that as well. But getting back to the awareness. So first you've got your self-awareness, things that you write down. Secondly, then you want to have a look at the people in your life and choose a mother or father, because they tend to mold you into the person you are now. And choose 5 people. And write down the traits, the parental programs, or the things that you don't think serve them, or the things that really, really annoy you about those people as well. So write them down, whatever they might be. So you've got the 5 people there, write down all their traits on all those 5 people, and then have a look at all those 5 people and see if there's any matching traits. And even if there's a match between 2 of those people, own it yourself. Because the people that come into our lives mirror back the areas that we need to self-improve on ourselves. And that's so true, because actually I channeled this, that actually, the hardest people that come into our lives, the ones that we sometimes call narcissists, which I've heard, I get so many people when I do my relationship coaching, which I do all the time, they say to me, yeah, my ex, they were a narcissist. And I said, did you love them though at all? I said, yeah, of course, I loved them for 9 years. And then they miraculously turned into a narcissist. Well, I wonder whether they just got into a suppressed emotion, a suppressed trait within you. It was the back of the subconscious or the back of the heart that you pushed away so much, and they wound you enough up because they were mirroring back the area that you need to self-improve on yourself. So another acronym that I have actually for narcissist is neglected awareness, reflecting conditionings in suppressed self, instigating soul transition. So that's something you really might have to look at as well. So have a look, firstly, as I said, the self-aware views, that your own ones that you have, then the mirrored views that are mirroring back to you, and then do an ego exercise where you choose someone that you know is going to be truthful with you. And you say, I actually use my dad. And I said to Dad, Dad, I want to do this ego exercise to self-improve. My dad's one of my biggest critics. And I said, Dad, I want you to tell me everything that you see in me that you don't like. Everything you see in me that you think I need to self-improve on. And I'm going to write it all down. I'm going to take my ego out of it. I'm going to look back in as the observer. I'm going to use the exercise to grow and evolve and be a better version of myself. And my dad said, well, Doug, you better bring a pretty big pad because you're going to need it. And he was right. I was literally writing everything down as he was talking. And eventually I managed to get all these different points down. And obviously remember that some of the points are going to be mirroring back to him or her, but then write them down and own them yourself and put them on the piece of paper. So you've got a piece of paper then of your self-aware flaws, your mirrored flaws, and your phone a friend flaws as well. And what you can utilize then is get in front of a coach. And I do this with people all the time. In fact, in this room, I have a couch over there, which you can't see. And I had a 6'4", built like a brick shit house. Hello, you look like Superman, very handsome ex-pro American footballer. And he was sitting there, huge guy, very impressive looking. And he was in tears doing this exercise. Because what I asked him to do next was to actually stand up and take those traits that I'd actually told him to write down and actually voice them out loud in front of me. So he said, I am opinionated at times, but I accept that and I'm willing to change. I don't actively listen enough, but I accept that and I'm willing to change. And he went through all of them with real passion, with his hand on his heart, really meaning it. And the reason why I get people to do it out loud is a bit like Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, I hope nobody's been to Alcoholics Anonymous, but if you have, and I haven't either, but if you have, actually a side story, actually, I have to tell you, Wayne Dyer, I'm sure quite a lot of you quite know, he used to go to Alcoholics Anonymous before he became this famous healer and philosopher and everything like that. And he said, while he was there, the Alcoholics Anonymous lady got people to, sit in front of her, and she got 2 glasses of water, kind of like a bit like this. And one of them was full of actual water, one of them was full of alcohol, and she had a live worm. She put the live worm into the water, and it wriggled around. It was fine. She took it out. She put the live worm into the alcohol. It shriveled up and died. And she said, well, what does that show you how alcohol affects the body? Wayne Dyer put his hand up and he goes, well, if you drink alcohol, you certainly won't get worms. Anyway, that's a sidetrack joke. Anyway, but getting back to what I was saying. So in terms of that self-awareness, once you've got, the reason why we get people to voice it out loud, a bit like Alcoholics Anonymous, because 1, you're being accountable to the people in the room, but 2, it triggers 3 parts of the brain, including the subconscious. And it triggers to your own brain, your subconscious, showing to yourself, firstly, awareness, secondly, acceptance, in order to implement change. Because let's face it, if you're not aware and you don't accept that it's in you, how can you change? You can't, right? So by voicing out loud, it shows that. And once he did that, once my pro-American football player had done that, I had a fire going, and I told him to rip the piece of paper up in shreds and throw it in the fire and see the energy dissipating away from him in a positive effect. And he did that, and he felt amazing afterwards. It was great to see. It was like 2 bricks just lifted off his shoulders. It's a really positive thing to do. And then I got him to rewrite the list in I am positives. So I am always listening in love. I am always understanding the other person's perspective. I am being humble in the way I speak. And that was so positive, because then what you do then after that is preferably obviously with a coach to make yourself accountable again. Or if you can't get a coach, sit in front of a mirror, eye to eye on the mirror, hand on your heart, saying those I am positive statements for a minimum of 21 days, preferably 60 days, to implement a neuroplastic change within the subconscious. It's very powerful. I've done this loads of times, and every single time it works. So do that, and I promise you it'll work. So that's the thing. The first thing in terms of mindset and actions as well is to understand where you are and where you're looking to go to. So in terms of my MAKE acronym, in terms of being the best version of yourself, having the most energy, everything like that, it's mindset, then actions, putting you where you are, and trying to get rid of all those crap. So in other words, you get rid of the crap, clean out the cupboards, so you can bring in all the new good stuff. And then K is for knowledge, but also knowing. So when I'm talking to businesses, in terms of knowledge, I say know your clients, know your products, and your industry, and match your client needs to your USPs. But in terms of healing, I said it's all about knowing. And I channeled knowing is all about having being in a state of love, a state of forgiveness, a state of kindness, a state of creativity, a state of knowledge, a state of determination, a state of fun, a state of laughter, and a state of command of oneself in terms of response rather than reaction in every single interaction we have. Put a yes if you've ever had one of those interactions with someone where you probably look back and you probably go, yep, I reacted. I didn't really respond. Anybody? Anybody had that? Put a yes in there. Come on, let's see a few. Come on, I'm sure there's a few people in the chat box and you can put it in and say, yep, I certainly have. Yep, thank you, Paolo. Yeah, there we go. Being honest, let's face it, we've all had those kind of things as well. So once you've done that exercise, actually, one of the really good things to do, which actually Joe was saying earlier on, is to have a look at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, just take a journal out and write down things you're grateful for, because I'll talk about that in a second, but also write down the interactions that you had during the day. And have a look at those interactions and have a look and write down the thoughts you had in each individual interaction, the behaviors and habits that you put into place in those interactions, and also the feelings or the emotions that you had there as well, energy, emotion. And have a look at those and see what worked and what didn't work, and then rewrite the list of what you should have thought, or how you should have behaved, or how you should have felt, or the emotions you had as well. And that way you can get through a state of awareness. If you do that on a regular basis, you can get to a better state in terms of interacting with other people in terms of emotional intelligence. But also, if you still have all those negative thoughts going around and playing with you all the time, is when you get those negative thoughts of putting you down, saying you're not good enough, stop yourself in their tracks and say out loud, really? Is that my truth? Really? Because what you're doing there is you're catching the ego out. And it's a really positive thing to do. And in terms of that knowing state, and why it's so important to get in that knowing state, because if I was to ask, let's say if I asked Sheri, I don't want you to answer Sheri, but if I was to ask Sheri, what is your name, Sheri? And I'd say, do you think your name is Sheri? Do you believe your name is Sheri? Or do you just know your name is Sheri? You know it, right? So know what you want in life, and regardless of the ups and downs in life, make sure you know you're going to get it as well. And when you have that knowing state that I talked about, then you'll find the flow of life coming into play so much better. But I'm going to talk about flow and how to get into that flow in a minute. But the last part of the MAKE acronym is energy and enthusiasm. But energy is so important because let's face it, when you wake up with loads of energy, you can really feel that energy within you, and you've got a real sense of purpose. You're going to achieve what you're going to want to achieve so much more. But what happens is, and I'm sure, let's ask a question, how many people, right? And I want you to put in the box yes, or you just put why if you've had this. How many people here, right, have walked into a room before just after two people have had an argument, and you can feel the energy, you feel like turning around and walking straight back out? Anybody had that? Put a why. Yeah, I'm sure we've all had it, right? We've all had that in some way experience. There you go, right? So what we need to do is to understand that sometimes we can get in a situation, we're going to be around someone else's energy that is not as positive as what we want. And the question is why? Well, let's face it, we're talking all the time. And if we're talking negatively or even thinking negatively, there's a vibration in my voice that's coming out. Now, hopefully that vibration in my voice at the moment, the resonance or oscillance that's coming out of my voice, into the computer, up to the satellite, into your computer and out into your ear has a positive frequency. But there are negative frequencies, and let's face it. And as Einstein said, energy never dissipates. It just moves from one form to another. So how do psychics come up with all these ideas and an understanding about you as yourself? Well, simply that energy is still in the atmosphere and they're able to tap into that. But also that consciousness, that energy vibration, as it never goes anywhere, it collects sometimes because like attracts like. And it can form a consciousness that sometimes isn't that positive. And when you, who's quite a energetic, positive light being as such, shining your light in this world, gleaming your light, and I come on to gleam in a minute, sometimes that energy can come towards you. Now, healers will tell you first, ground yourself, which is right, and then put a bubble of light to protect yourself around you, which is right as well. The only thing is that sometimes then those energies come towards you and you're not really doing them a favor. You're also going for a place of fear. It's a fear of them going towards you. I actually say to people, instead of that, put a violet light around you, because violet is the highest frequency of light there is. Ultraviolet, they always talk about. And that way, if anything negative comes towards you in terms of lower frequency energy, the violet light will basically heighten the frequency as such and send it up to the light as well. So instead of visualizing this like bubble of light around you, right? Visualize a violet funnel going up to the violet light, the violet flame above you, so that you're transmuting anything that comes towards you with pure love. Pure love rather than fear. So anything comes towards you, just visualize that every day. And every day I quite often start and just visualize violet light all around me, and I just send the positive energy to everywhere and everybody as well. And anything, if ever I feel a bit eerie, I just send this violet light and love to it and transmute it back into positivity from negativity. That's energy. How do we get our energy though into the best possible state? Well, I mentioned about violet being a light, and we all have our light, right? So we gleam our light every day. And I have a GLEAM acronym as well, because I love acronyms. So my GLEAM acronym starts with G, obviously. G for gratitude, but also giving to others. Now, gratitude is always the attitude that everybody talks about, but I wonder why, because sometimes we wonder, why is it so important? Well, let's face it, I've got 2 kids. If I give my kids a present and they're not grateful, do you think I feel like I want to give them anything else? Of course not, right? So why would God, the universe, Allah, whatever you believe in, even your own subconscious, make you feel worthy enough to receive anything else if you're not grateful for what you have or you've already received now? So be truly grateful for everything you've received in the past to open yourself up to receive more. Secondly, giving to others is one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself. And the greatest gift actually I think you can give to yourself is your presence. And let's face it, the present is the same word as a gift. And let's face it, the greatest gift you can give someone else is your presence. So truly actively listen to other people and seek to understand so that you can create the best possible outcome. It's amazing, actually, in terms of marriage counsels and stuff like that. They always tell you to have a meeting with your wife, your husband at the end of the week and sit down with them and say to, honey, you did this week, you did that this week, you did this week, and I don't like it. I think you need to self-improve and do better. And that's fine, but it sometimes brings a little bit of confrontation. What I think is a much better idea, because I was talking about mirror effect earlier on, is to sit down and say, honey, I thought you were amazing the way you looked after the kids this week. I thought you were incredible how well you did with your job. I thought you were amazing how much love you bring to this family all the time. And honey, I have to fess up that I'm so sorry that I left my underpants on the floor this week. And I'm so sorry that I left the toilet seat up this week as well. I really apologize. And that way, you're basically complimenting everything good about them, fessing up to hopefully everything that you might have done wrong during the week, and then there won't be too much left on the table. And as long as they do the same thing, you can get things out of the way very nicely. And one other thing which I really recommend is if they do something that winds you up, instead of going up and pointing the finger, let's face it, when you point the finger, there's 3 pointing back at you. Instead of pointing the finger, say to them, honey, can I just ask you something? And they'll say, yes. Am I ever selfish at all? And then she'll probably go, well, no, not really. Why are you asking? Oh, honey, you know me, I'm just always trying to self-improve all the time. And I love you so much. I always like to get your feedback, that's all. And say nothing else. I did this with my girlfriend. And the next day she came up and she said, honey, look, I'm really sorry that I was a bit selfish yesterday. And thank you so much for the way you went about it. It's a really, really good way of being non-confrontational and being able to solve problems and conflicts between yourself and your other half as well. So, Glee Macron, back to it. So we've gone through G, we're going on to L. L is about learning one new thing every day. And let's face it, I talked about that earlier on in terms of learning from the hardships, to grow, to learn, to evolve, to become a better version of yourself. And then we're obliged to teach what we learned to other people so they can go through those in a more emotionally intelligent manner as well. L is also for letting go of those energies such as resentment, anger, and lack of forgiveness. And I know Sheri is an amazing person in terms of forgiveness and everything like that. So if you ever want to do any good forgiveness work, have a word with her as well. E is for exercise to energize, but E is also for emotional intelligence, which I talked about earlier on as well. And emotional intelligence is always about getting into the best possible state. And I think it's probably one of the most grounded ways of consciousness in terms of, as I said, self-awareness, which we've been talking about, self-regulation, controlling yourself to respond rather than react, and empathy and compassion, so putting yourself in the other person's shoes, social skills and motivation. A is for affirmations and awareness, and I talked about awareness earlier on. Affirmations, let's face it, you're the person who talks to yourself the most. Sometimes it's the most intelligent conversation you have. So make sure you're talking positively to yourself all the time. And then also agreements as well. 4 Agreements, great book by Don Luis Miguel. He talks about, being immaculate with your words, which I was talking about a little bit earlier on. Also, it talks about, don't take things personally. They might be just having a shit day. It's nothing to do with you. You're their nearest and dearest. And maybe it's a compliment, actually, that they're venting to you in some way or form. The 4 Agreements also is about not making assumptions, which I mentioned earlier on, in terms of asking questions to understand. And then finally, about being the best version of yourself, which is what we're talking about basically today. And then finally, M is for meaning and also for meditation. Now, in terms of meditation, it's threefold. It's connect, reflect, and glow. So connect is terms of connecting with your true self, your higher self, your best self, in order to be the best version of yourself every day. But also it's about reflection and also deciding what do you want in your life as well. So you can visualize what you want and you can visualize the steps and procedures in a state of celebration and energetic intention so you get there as well. And then finally, meditation as well is about reducing stress to increase energy for life as well. And then finally, M is all about meaning. And meaning is a sense of purpose and a sense of love for what you do, a love for the people you work with, and a love for the clients you serve as well. And I also say another acronym is love equals lots of vibrant energy. So if you optimize your energy, you're going to optimize your life. And let's face it, everything in life is energy. Thoughts are energy, speech is energy. Thoughts lead to speech, speech leads to actions, actions leads to habits, and habits leads to destiny. So start with a positive thought and end with a positive destiny, or think smart, talk smart, work smart. Or if you're really, really smart, you'll go to training.dougdgordon.com and you'll do my course to make yourself the best version of yourself. And I'm finished speaking for now. If there's any questions, obviously you can ask. I'm going into, I think, pretty much in about 5 minutes' time, I'm going to be doing a clearing healing where I'm going to clear all your energy off. I'm going to do a prayer to help ground you properly. Then we're going to do a meditation to connect your higher self, in terms of chakra meditation to connect your higher self, which I've channeled as well. So I hope that helps. If anybody wants anything at all as well, in terms of, I'm going to do quick consultations in room 48, and that's helping people, and I can do some intuitive coaching, intuitive healing, and then if anybody wants to take it further, we can go from there as well. And yeah, I think in terms of my offer today, my course normally, because I've literally done this course it's only 3.5 hours long. I've literally crammed everything into it to get a really concise course of everything that I utilize with the CEOs, sports stars, and film stars. And it costs, at the moment, it's $199. It normally costs $1,000. So I brought it right down for this event. So get in there quickly, as I said, at training.doug, D-O-U-G, D for Douglas or Divinity, Gordon, G-O-R-D-O-N, .com. And I'd be delighted if anybody wants any more information afterwards as well. You can connect to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. LinkedIn is my main one. I've got 22,000 LinkedIn contacts there. Check me out on my LinkedIn recommendations. I truly believe LinkedIn is the most authentic social media platform because recruiters use it to bring in consultants and coaches. So if you fib on there, you're never going to get another job with multinational. I work with Dell, I work with Facebook, I work with Salesforce, Okaco, Leinster Rugby Club, many others. And you can have a look at the feedback on there as well. So I think it's back to Sheri to introduce the next speaker, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the fun room.
All right, great presentation. Can't wait to listen to it later. That was awesome. Thank you, Doug. Follow Doug. Wait, Doug, you're supposed to do a door prize. Where'd you go? Pop back in.
Oh, I'm here again. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Door prize. I think you're going to give away one of your $1,000 specials, right?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give away, for one person, I will give an hour coaching, which is $1,000 anyway. So what I'll do for one person, I'll give that away. And just so you know, you can have a look at my LinkedIn, for example. The people I've coached include the ex-England rugby coach, Stuart Lancaster. And, Stuart is international rugby coach, now coach for Leinster, which is the top rugby club in the world as well. So, and there's many others on there as well. So you can see. So yeah, I can do business coaching as well. And one thing I would say to help everybody here is make a course like mine, 3.5 hours. I was telling Sheri this the other day. It really helped you turn your mess into a message, and then use the transcript from that to send it away to an editor to make a book. Then set up a Facebook group as well, subscription, then do a mastermind. You've got a whole business put in place there. If you want help doing that, I can help you do that. If you want help with the presentations, I can help you with that. But for this as well, this free thing will be down to a lot of stuff that we'll talk about in that one-to-one session. So I have my number ready.
Wait, let them put the number in the chat. Put a number in the chat if you'd like to win a 1-hour coaching session valued at $1,000, guys. What a prize. Blow that chat up. Yeah, hello. Guys, if anyone's listening right now on Facebook or YouTube, you need to be here on Zoom. This is where the party's at. This is where the prizes are at. Come on in, it's free to get in. The best way to do it, if you're listening, it's a bit.ly/Zoom1127 is the Zoom link, and that will get you right in the door. Okay, well, guys, it's 0 to 100. 0 to 100. You can't do 1,000.
I think Yasmin. I think she made 100.
Well, look at all these people. I also help, go grab his course for $199. All right, ready? Let's do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look how many people are blowing up this screen, Doug. All right, ready to hold up your number, guys? We're ready. You only could do one vote. One vote. You're gonna make me crazy. One vote. Okay, ready, Doug? 5, 4.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you why I chose this number. So after my near-death experience, I came out, I asked God for a direction of what to do. And afterwards, I tripped up while running over my dog, cut my hand and my knee to shreds. And I had on my hand across here, the letters of the cross, I-N-R-I, and either side of it, I had 2 infinity signs or 2 8s. So I've chosen 88.
88. Okay, because he fell on glass and he had the signs on his hands, he chose 88, and that made him realize he's also a healer. Okay, I see a 77.
There's a 78 there as well. I saw that.
A 77. 78 is Amy.
People are writing at 88 now. A bit late.
Oh, you guys, we're done. We're cutting it off. Well, you got all these people. You got almost 50 people wanting a session with you. What do you want to do about that, Doug?
Well, okay, I will give one proper free session for an hour to the person who won it, who was 78, and then I will give 5 15-minute consultations to the next nearest people.
Whoa.
Wait, what?
5 consults for 15 minutes for the next closest people.
Which is basically worth 250 euros.
Oh goodness. Okay, so what's the closest numbers to 88? Let's see. We got
well, Yasmin said 100, so that's one. There's 2 77s I saw as well. So there's 2 77s, there's a 78, and then there was 100 a couple of times as well, I think.
Okay, I see Trey at 77, Divya at 77, and Who's next? 100, 100, we have Yasmin. Okay, we'll take a look, because right now we want to move you into the playroom, because we have the next speaker who needs to come out. So we'll take a look and see who the next 5 people are, guys, okay? Somebody can help me out. That way Doug can move into his room. I think Paolo at 48. And Jen needs to come out.